Welcome back to the Peptides for Women podcast. I'm Jennifer Woodward, and I am delighted to welcome back Dr. Dean Jones to the show. You probably know Dr. Jones from YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. He's a prolific educator and also a clinician. And I reached out to him because there are some issues going on right now in the peptide space that I was curious about, and I really wanted to go to a trusted source. So that is why he's back on the show. So excited to get to talk about these things today. Dr. Jones, thanks for coming on. How you doing today?
Doing better after that. Prolific. I love that word. That's a great word.
All right, I'm glad. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very blessed to be able to help people with problems that I personally had struggled with for a very long time. So specifically helping people with lasting weight loss. That's my biggest passion. And I think the GLP-1s and the peptides are such a powerful tool to be able to help people get closer to that. They're not everything, and that's the big debate and struggle. But the lifestyle piece alone is just extremely challenging. So now we have tools. We have much more powerful tools, and so bringing back the basics that unfortunately have never really been accepted by standard Western medicine, holistic lifestyle interventions, and metabolic health. Like that's the thing that gets people better. So now we have tools, you put it all together, and bam, we're getting tremendous results. So I just help people do that and have a lot of fun doing it.
Preach, brother. I love it. Yes, getting the foundations down and now stepping into this new era with new tools, I think is really exciting. Now, I know last time on the show, we talked a little bit about your background. You gained and lost 100 pounds multiple times. This last time, you did it with the help of peptides and fasting and your flow method. So, can you give us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so I lost 100 pounds when I was 16. And then luckily I never regained the 100. I gained like 50 though. I mean, it was a lot.
Okay.
I mean, so but every year though, it was like a constant back and forth. So probably, I guess you could say lost and gained over 600 to 800 pounds or something crazy like that. Yeah, it's wild. I think when I would hit 50, would have this panic every single year. Like I can't go all the way back to my former 300 obese self. So I'd get really serious. And really what allowed me, because I did it without fasting, without GLP-1, so no metabolic health focus, because nobody taught me that. I didn't know anything about that at that time. All I knew about was the old school methods. So it was all about at that time, getting consistent with my morning cardio, lifting weights in the afternoon, 6 meals a day, counting my calories, counting my macros. I mean, it sucks. That method's awful, but the method works if you can try it hard enough. You can kind of pound through your physiology. That's really a way to think about it. You're pounding through metabolic health issues with sheer determination. And for the reality of a lot of people, they just don't have enough determination, no fault of them, to outbeat their horrible physiology. And so it's just a losing battle for a lot of people. And that's also why I couldn't maintain it, and I just would have to get real serious every time. Usually January, I was thinking about summertime again. At that very young age, I cared a lot about how I looked, and more importantly, too much about what other people thought about how I looked, and that was my driving factor. But then I came across a lot of fasting, a lot of metabolic health stuff, primarily fasting. So I did it all without GLP-1s. I got to a healthy weight, stability behind that, where I wasn't stressing. Then you fast forward GLP-1s, and that's where I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I've always wanted to be jacked. I've always wanted to, I wanted to be super fit, but the too many responsibilities would supersede that. And so the GLP-1s allowed me to take my desire to be fit and actually, with the same amount of effort, maybe even less probably with microdosing GLP-1s, I can now maintain a more athletic physique. So it's really been able to take me to the next level. A little bit different than what I'm primarily doing, which is taking that obese category and then taking them to the healthy category. I work with some athletes and some people, but I'm definitely primarily working in the metabolically dysfunctional category.
Okay, got it. And thank you for explaining that more. I was way off, so I appreciate you giving
You
more
were you were
clarity.
pretty much almost there. Yeah.
I was 80% of the way there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am curious though. You said adding the GLPs kind of made the effort less hard. So explain to me what you meant by that. Are you specifically talking about lifting and in the gym and with exercise, or are you talking about the food component too? I mean, obviously you are, but are you talking about exercise as well?
Yeah, primarily the food part, but but definitely it goes even beyond that. But the food part is it's the food part, right? Like
Okay.
the thing about anybody who's lost anything more than 10 pounds, like you have this propensity to regain, and so there's a certain amount of mental effort that you have to constantly exert, and the big portion of that is food. Like you have to continue to eat reasonably good most of the time. You don't get much wiggle room after you lose the weight, and you lose that dopamine driven excitement of seeing your body change every week in the mirror when you're looking at yourself, which makes all the effort behind losing weight super fun because you're like, oh my gosh, my body's changing. That's gone. You don't have that anymore. That's why maintaining weight is actually, in my opinion, so much harder because now you're like, why am I saying no to the junk food? Why am I not being able to do this thing and feeling like I'm missing out because you don't have that motivation anymore? So the GLP-1s really help me, and I see with a lot of patients, be able to maintain again eating reasonably good most of the time,
Hmm.
because they're a shot of artificially induced appetite suppression and a jolt to my brain to kind of give me the help that I need. I currently use them once or twice a month, and it's very helpful. Then in the other weeks, I do my best to try to maintain that on my own, which is easier the first week, and then it just slowly gets a little bit more challenging. But I enjoy that because it's doable, and I think that's it. Like I'm never going to be able to just have it be completely like everybody else, nor do I think anybody who's been overweight is ever going to have it like everybody else. The people who don't have to try to maintain their weight, who just their body just does it. Cool for them, but this is the closest I can get to that, which I think is still pretty dang good.
That sounds pretty dang good. So you're training your hypothalamus to adapt a little bit better, enjoying some of the discomfort of struggling with the food noise and appetite and getting ready for your next shot once a month. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's so crucial as opposed to constantly every single week. Even low doses, what I fear, although there's no research to back this up yet, I fear that you sort of just lose that ability when you're constantly every single week, even a small dose, getting a little bit of help. And the body adapts too. The body adapts to everything. It's really, really good at adapting. And we know that. We know that in many instances of pharmacology and peptides and medicine. And so cycling is good for that reason as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting too, because a lot of the peptides that are non-GLP peptides, like the growth hormone secretagogues, like BPC 157, TB 500, not quite in the same vein, but we are encouraged to take time off. Like you're not supposed to take growth hormones in perpetuity, right? You obviously would only take BPC 157 when you're suffering from an injury or inflammation. So I can see the wisdom in cycling back and forth between a GLP-1 too. But I think from last time we talked, you said that the evolution of your thought process has come to a place whereas before you used to try to help your patients wean off of GLP-1s, and now you realize the long-reaching benefits, not just metabolically, but for the rest of the body. And so you kind of created this new protocol, which I really like. I've been talking to a lot of my friends and colleagues about it.
yeah, I still encourage people. It's a massive shift, by the way. It really was. If you look at my original videos, yeah, like I was just like, whoa, like everybody's got to get off, like we're using this poison, and that's generally how I look at pharmaceuticals. It's a little extreme, but there's a use case for pharmaceuticals. But yeah, I mean that's kind of how I looked at it. Necessary evil, if you will, and now I'm like, wait, this is a necessary thing. It's not evil. It does so much that we now see, and the benefits are just widespread. And so, but technically, you can still make the argument that the most optimal scenario would be not taking anything, right? That we haven't have like the absolute certainty that there's no potential risk. You technically
Sure.
still say there's still potential and margin for risk. Like you got to give it that, right?
Hmm.
So we don't say anything that's technically not true. So I think when I have patients that come to us and they're like, I want to wean off, I let them, even if I think that they're probably not going to be able to, I don't let them know that. It's not right for me to judge their goal and their intention. If they're motivated to get off, I'm like, let's work towards that goal. This is going to be challenging, but let's do it. And most of them end up settling on the microdose. So, but now it's like they settle into that. look how that it's like goes back to that expression, reach for the stars and settle for the clouds. I think I might have butchered that, but you know what I'm talking about. Like that, like set that bar really high so that
Yeah.
you're still pretty proud of where you land.
hmm Yeah, for sure. I do really like that. And one of the questions I get asked most often, this is usually by friends or, people we're just talking like in passing about peptides are like, well, how long do I have to stay on them? It's probably the top question I get asked. And, the more I get into the research, the more I see these studies on GLP-1s, the quality studies on GLP-1s, the Surpass trial, the Surmount trial. These are 4 years, 5 years. They are really studying like the extended effects of some of these GLP-1s with some of the shorter studies, like 8 week studies. Yeah, people regain the weight. They do because that's not long enough to rewire your brain to adopt new habits. I mean, you're going to eat differently after 6 months or 8 months on a GLP-1 than you did before. People who are relatively metabolically optimized and people who weren't. And so I do see the wisdom in taking your time to see how your body adapts to a GLP-1, but I also love, I love the idea of the lowest possible dose for the maximum viable results, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I like long term. I do. I think the research really does. I mean, obviously we don't have 10-year studies. We don't have 20-year studies, but we do have physicians who've been using, specifically GLP-1s ever since liraglutide. They were injecting once a day and people have been using those for 10, 20, 30 years. And like you said, there's risk with anything.
I'm good friends with a physician, Dr. Eberwein. He's been prescribing GLP-1 since the very beginning. So
When?
I like to talk to him about it because, yeah, he's had patients on it for a very, very long time. So he's like a huge GLP-1 advocate. So yeah, I mean, I think we will have research that's going to confirm our hunches. So that'll come
Yeah.
out soon.
Yeah, good stuff. Research does tend to make people feel better. But I always tell people too, if you're curious, the only way to know is to try. My body's going to react differently than my girlfriend's body. It's going to react differently than my husband's body. My outcomes are going to be different. And so, curiosity is a big driver, I think. And people tend to get pretty dang good results. And again, not just metabolically. I got my hair done yesterday, and my hairstylist said, your psoriasis looks so much better. I've had scalp psoriasis since I was 17 years old. I'm a functional nutritionist. So I've done everything, all the functional lab tests and all the diet changes and all the gut clearing protocols. And I have not changed anything else except peptides for the past year. Same diet, same supplements. And so I'm seeing my body start to process things differently, start to really reduce that, long-standing inflammation. And while I can't be certain, I would attribute some of that to the anti-inflammatory effects of the GLP-1.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would imagine too. That sounds like a pretty fair conclusion. Yeah. Based off
Yeah.
that. So,
I love it. I love it. Okay. So, one of the reasons I wanted to invite you back on is because we're here now in January 2026. And you were talking a lot on your social media channels about, research grade peptides, of which, we both have talked about in the past. Like I have used them in the past. I don't have anything majorly against research peptides, but there have been some new regulations, some new rules, new decisions made about research peptides, and some things are happening in that space, right? If you were to get on the internet and just search up retatrutide, tirzepatide, semaglutide, you are going to have far fewer options for research peptides than you would have had a couple of months ago. So can you speak to that and tell us what's going on in the space?
yeah, I think the powers that be were waiting to make this move for a while, just kind of sitting in the back, gathering data, watching and collecting data. This wasn't like anything that was a criminal level, but it certainly was aggressive claims being made as well from a lot of these companies. And we all know what's going on. I mean, they're not supposed to be able to offer human use peptides, and I mean, it's just the biggest loophole that I've ever seen. That's just a blatant use of like misleading. But that's the game, and I'm not against it because of I know the good that's happening of it. There's a lot of good that's happening of it. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to try to stop it, but yeah, I think it's so we have multiple agencies that have really clamped down and decided to finally make moves on these companies in multiple different levels, even state attorney generals too as well, putting enforcement in, sending multiple letters to both the pharmacies, the actual individual companies that are making them, and look, telling these people that they just can't be doing what they're doing. And so very threatening type letters. And so nobody's gotten doors busted in from what I've seen. No raids. I wonder if it would have got that bad. But nonetheless, the scrutiny was so tough that a lot of these companies said, December 31st, 2025, I'm done. And I saw fire sales. I saw a lot of these. It was
Me
like all
too.
these peptide sales. Like it
Yeah.
was wild. And yeah, so a lot of them have shut down. Now, why some of them are still going, that's a fun. I have no idea if they know something that I don't know. But I know that the agencies are going to continue to enforce and probably if they keep offering, I think there will be some doors kicked in at some point here soon because yeah, a lot of misleading activity by some of the research facilities. So
Yeah. I like that idea for a Netflix special, like 2027. FDA busted down research peptide doors.
I don't know if you noticed this, but me and my fiance were talking about Netflix has really upped their game as far as like the shows they're offering, these little short series, couple episodes. They had the Alex he's free soloed the building. I don't know if you saw that and
No, I
the
haven't watched it yet, but my news feed keeps telling me about it. Was it amazing?
I mean, yeah, I mean the guy is free soloing a skyscraper. I mean, that's just
Okay, dumb
it's
question.
well, it was cool. It was cool. I actually liked when he free soloed the mountain just because it looked I don't know it looked cooler. The building gets kind of redundant. He's because it looks the same. It's a building, so I think when you see somebody free soloing El Capitan or some sort of rock, that just so to me that was way more moving. But this was still pretty cool. Yeah, Netflix is upping their game. That's for sure.
Just so you guys know, we are not sponsored by Netflix, but hope to be someday. And also,
Jesus.
Bo Woodward and I love Netflix. Like, it is one of our favorite things. Like, 7 p.m., we're like, dishes are done, kids are good. What are we watching tonight? There
What do
is
we
some
net
good stuff on there right now for sure.
Netflix and chill. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So one of the things, just going back to research peptides here, um, a lot of sites are still continuing to offer research peptides. It's really just the GLP-1s, right, that have kind of had the main crackdown, or am I wrong there?
Well, I think it's the because this has been going on for years and years and years. I think what really shifted the enforcement was the massive increase in peptide companies offering peptides really driven by GLP-1. So GLP-1 explosion has then really driven much more like everybody wants a piece of the pie. And so
Mhm.
it just really has exponentially taken off. And so I think it's the GLP-1s that are driving it, but they're shutting down the research facility more so not because of the GLP-1, but just because of what they're doing in general, from my
Right.
understanding. So
All right, makes sense. And you guys, like Dr. Jones's channel is a great place to kind of get updated on some of these things. Anytime he's able to, I'm going to try to drag him back onto the show to keep us updated on current goings on in the peptide space. But definitely give him a follow over on his channels. All right. The other thing I wanted to discuss with you today is kind of your evolution of thought on retatrutide. So, I don't think anyone really in like the optimal wellness space right now is like huge on semaglutide. Now that we have tirzepatide, people just tend to see better results. There's fewer side effects. The research shows that weight loss is greater, muscle preservation is higher with tirzepatide than it was with semaglutide. But the new shiny thing is retatrutide, and surely everyone knows someone who's experimented with retatrutide. But for me and my client population, we don't like it as much. Number one, it's not FDA approved. You can't really get it. I mean, some people can get it. A lot of people can get it. But our pharmacy doesn't have it, right? I have gotten it off the black market. I will just be honest. In the past, I've tried it in the past. I didn't love it for myself. Went back to tirzepatide and really just enjoyed the results. I just feel like it's a little smoother and softer for me, and my clients tend to agree. So, I wanted to hear from you because you are, definitely working with patients on the day to day. And originally, I think you said that you were kind of a bigger fan of it. And then I feel like you've kind of returned to tirzepatide. Now, I could be wrong on that. So tell me a little bit about the evolution of your story there.
it's always an evolution, right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as time passes and you learn more. Um, Where I stand with retatrutide is that it is an option that has some pretty interesting, like we got to talk about its ability to obliterate liver fat. So, I mean, if you have fatty liver disease, like I think this is a laser tool to use like for fatty liver disease particular, which is interesting because it's significantly better than semaglutide and tirzepatide. But it is in essence the most powerful GLP-1. That glucagon piece, the data is clear that adds a whole extra component to it, which glucagon is something that's activated in your body when you're in a calorie deficit, when you're fasting. Your body upregulates glucagon and it stimulates the liver to start just burning fat, burning fat. You're producing more ketones. People are they're showing like levels of ketones in their body, which you wouldn't get unless you're in a calorie deficit or you're eating just fat, like a ketogenic diet. But now with retatrutide, yeah, you can potentially induce a little bit of mild ketosis, which is that's
Mm.
very therapeutic too as well. So it is a little bit of like metabolic flexibility, optimization. It's like all these good things, but to remind everybody, like what you've noticed is what I've noticed too, and nobody knows, it's all theories, but yeah, certain people just don't get the kind of appetite suppression that they need. Is it that glucagon piece is stimulating hunger, and so now you have something that's doing both. You have the appetite suppressors and a little bit of hunger, so the net effect, it sounds really nice, like that's the explanation. That seems logical. Who knows what's the real reason? But yeah, there's something about it where certain people aren't getting the kind of appetite suppression that they need. So because of that, at the end of the day, the metabolic benefits are not going to outweigh the fact that you're still in a caloric surplus because your food chatter is still controlling you. So ultimately, getting down to the optimum level of food chatter is priority number one. And
Hmm.
you might have to use tirzepatide. Now, um, we are starting to see a little bit of like experimenting with stacking. And so I just started talking about this like last week.
Hmm.
And so our providers now are yeah, comfortable with stacking. So that's an interesting scenario. Now that's kind of an option that I wasn't thinking with like a couple months ago. That allows us to get the best of both worlds. Now maybe, I don't want to say this yet, maybe everybody should be on a little bit of Retta, if we'll talk about the contraindications in a second, if they can get their needed appetite suppression from like a co-stack of tirzepatide or even semaglutide. So,
Yep.
um, but again, you're right. Like you said, it's not phase three. So now you're playing with something that's still experimental. And so if you're not working with a licensed healthcare practitioner, you definitely shouldn't touch this because there are real cases that are unique to retatrutide that could exacerbate pre-existing conditions like heart arrhythmias for sure is a big thing. If you have an existing issue where your heart rate's higher, some late stage congestive heart failure, like a couple use cases where
Hmm.
it definitely seems like mechanistically stay the heck away from anything that's going to exacerbate that. Again, until we get more data on this, it's not something that anybody should be experimenting with. And unfortunately, everybody is like,
Yeah, right.
that's not stopping people. If I don't think they
No.
even know that. Like my heart rate's like 10 times, beating 10 times more per hour. Is that okay? I'm getting ripped though. It's like, that's not okay. That's not good. I think retatrutide is also something that, for me personally, I would never use it long term.
Hmm.
Maybe that'll change, of course. As of now, I would still use tirzepatide as my long-term aid.
Hmm.
But if I ever have a moment where I want to lean up more, yeah, I want to add some Retta
Hmm.
because of that glucagon piece. I mean, I definitely will get leaner very quickly adding some Retta to the scenario. So
So explain the mechanism of action of that glucagon piece in retatrutide as opposed to tirzepatide. What exactly is it doing for the body, and how is that promoting more leanness?
yeah, so it's very different. The GLP-1 and GIP are really just inducing the decrease in caloric intake. And they're optimizing insulin function. So blood sugars are controlled. So all of that contributes to fat loss and weight loss and slow down in the motility. So you're eating less calorie deficit. But the glucagon piece, this is stimulating your liver to actually start burning fat. So it's putting your liver into a state where there's a signal saying burn fat, burn fat, burn fat. Kind of like taking a peptide like AOD, which is like mobilize fat, mobilize fat, mobilize fat. So you have a signal that's being sent in that says burn fat. Ultimately, you still have to have an energy deficit going on, right? Because you have a counter signal of surplus and gaining that'll yield net no change if you're in a surplus, but or in a maintenance. So you still got to be in a deficit, of course, but you have a signal there that's stimulating the liver to burn fat. And so
Hmm.
Metabolic rates are increasing. You're
Hmm.
metabolically flexible. Again, we talked about the mild ketone production. Ketone bodies, if that's a whole nother conversation, those might be signaling agents more than just energy, providing molecules. And so signaling a bunch of downstream anti-inflammatory healing properties, like a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff
Right.
that would all yield a better scenario where the body's moving into the direction of a leaner, more muscular physique. The more muscular too, because the ketones are muscle sparing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's a well established thing. When you're in mild ketosis, you actually have really powerful muscle sparing signals from the ketone bodies. So, and the only way you can do that is by, again, calorie deficit, extreme calorie deficit fastings or low carb diets. So
Mhm.
now could maybe somebody not have to do a keto diet with retatrutide? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot to be figured out.
Do you think it's the increase in metabolic rate that's leading to the heart rate increases and arrhythmias?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting because it's not a stimulatory compound in the traditional
Right.
sense, but it's giving stimulatory effects. And
Yeah.
so something about just glucagon itself, maybe itself is
Mhm.
stimulatory towards other pathways that I still have yet to research and become more familiar with, but it's definitely producing, I would say, a different stimulatory effect. So maybe soon we will start calling it a stimulatory. I don't know yet. That's a great question.
Fen 2.0. Just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, but probably a much better, much better,
Definitely better.
safer.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah.
tell me about the stacking. So you're stacking tirzepatide and retatrutide?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the concept still is the same, finding the right in this case, finding the right combo of both. Somebody who doesn't, like I said, medical providers are comfortable that they don't have any pre-existing heart issues and heart issues, those types, not cardiovascular disease. This is going to be great for cardiovascular disease for the same reason all the other GLP-1s are. But so you rule those out under medical supervision. They're safe. It looks good for Retta. Yeah, you're just using a low dose of both to achieve that desire. And you don't really care what the dose is at this point of retatrutide, some sort of, maybe 0.5, 1 milligram,
Okay.
just a low, very low dose of it. And then the combination of that with whatever appetite, tirzepatide, for example, to achieve still that sweet spot dosing. And now they're
Hmm.
getting a little bit of glucagon piece in it too.
Interesting. I like this idea. Okay. All right. I'm gonna noodle on that for a little bit because
No.
yeah. All right. The brain part is taken care of and you can get buffer. All right. So let's talk about what are you most excited about in the peptide space right now? Like what research are you reading? What's going on right now that you're kind of excited to talk about?
Yeah. What am I most excited about? Well, we just brought on a functional medicine practitioner to our team. So that's what I'm extremely excited about because a lot of what we do is on individuals that have, really deep cases, autoimmune diseases. Specifically, we brought her on for autoimmune, but being able to now target whole big picture healing more than just kind of getting into it with metabolic health. And so I started making content now. I did a leaky gut video. I'm doing a Hashimoto's video now. So I'm definitely starting to kind of expand now into just the full functional medicine realm. She's phenomenal. She's very, very knowledgeable. I'm so happy that I found her. So I get to help her with the peptides, and she just manages the whole case. And I think peptides are, you take functional medicine and you give it peptides, it's oh my gosh, it's so powerful. I mean, people with peptides alone are getting insane results, but if you add functional medicine to it, and I mean, you're talking potential resolution for major health issues. So I'm super pumped about that.
I love it. That sounds very, very exciting. And that is just speaking my language. I mean, just hearing you talk about that, it's so true. For the last 10 years, I'm running Dutch tests on women, GI maps on women, hair tissue mineral analyses, organic acid tests. And there's so many things that get better. Their sleep gets better, their mood gets better, their periods and hormones get better, their energy gets better. But darn it all, if there's just 10 or 15 pounds, 20 pounds that, they're still struggling with. And so I really feel like it is a huge blessing to be able to add peptides to my practice just because that is that missing piece for so many women. They're happy, they're healthy, they just want their outside of their body to reflect how they feel on the inside. So it is a
Yeah.
beautiful marriage. You're totally right.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's super exciting stuff.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get her on the podcast sometime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's possible.
Okay. Wait, say it again.
I said that's possible. We could work that out. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Thank you for always being such a great sport. I really appreciate your time, love your knowledge, and I'm super grateful that you hopped back on the podcast today. Can you please remind everyone where they can find you and your practice?
Yeah, just type in Dr. Jones DC. YouTube is definitely the number one platform to check us out. And then Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and our site too is drjonesdc.com. But I think you'll get the best on the YouTube page. And then yeah, there's plenty of links there if you want to work with us, me, my coaches. The whole 9 yards is there. We're excited to help you guys get to the next level.
Fantastic. You guys definitely reach out, use the links that we're including in the show notes. We're excited to have you work with Dr. Jones. And Dr. Jones, do you have any closing thoughts as we sign off for today?
I think I said this on your last. I'll say it again because I think to me that's there you can never hear this enough. But um, it's what is it, January or maybe I didn't say this exactly, but January 29th. I know a lot of people feel bummed out because they had this whole mindset for January 1st. This was it. This is my year. And 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I haven't done anything yet. And so I always say, you could fail, 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 but you only got to succeed once. And so just every single failure is just an opportunity to take you one step closer to the success. So just get off your ass and let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's not have analysis paralysis. Because that is sometimes like, I'm just waiting for the right plan. I'm just waiting for the right plan. And that sounds logical. But then all of a sudden it's 2027 and they still haven't started yet. So
Wise words. If you feel ready, it's time. All right.
let's do it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Peptides for Women podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye.